I'm curious, when you meet these celebrities, because I've seen the photos, you've been in photos with like Rick Ross and DaBaby and then the little baby and all the babies. How does that feel?
Their lifestyle isn't all that it like seems chalked up to be, which is like.
How old were you at this time?
Well, it started when I was going into grade 9, and we were able to scale that up to 7 figures through Instagram marketing. And so what we would do is we film like...
I was in my 30s when I started making that kind of money, and you were half that age. So that is pretty freaking crazy.
The great fact of it was that,
you know, I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit. We might get into a little bit of controversial territory here, but the world doesn't want people to be healthy because healthy people are not good for business.
80% of a person's expenditure on healthcare happens within the last 2 weeks of their life.
Like the real issue that people have is they're just scared to jump into the world of social media. They're scared to jump into the world of branding and building their own personal brand.
Hey everyone, Sam Patel, super excited to have today's discussion. I have amazing, brilliant entrepreneurs with me. Gentlemen that I've met over the last couple years, and they are amazing people that are going to engage in amazing conversations. If you are new to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe so we do not miss out on any conversations that we have together, because today's conversation is going to be a good one because we have some heavy hitters in the room from different walks of life, different age groups, and we're going to dive into medicine. We're going to dive into entrepreneurship. We're going to dive into all of the hot topics and a little bit of the dirty topics of business. And we're going to expose some things together. Let me introduce my two guests here. I have Dr. Alex Spinoso and Jackson Lintz. And I'm super excited to have you guys. How you guys been?
Good.
Good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We're technically filming in your house.
Fair enough. They don't know that. They do now.
We're filming here in Dallas, Texas. It's super nice to be here. I'm very excited for the weekend. I know we're going to be hanging out. We're going to be doing some cool things at the conference, but you know, we wanted to make sure that we have some time together to have a good discussion of the industry. I know, Jackson, I would love to maybe start with you, just telling the audience a little bit more about your history. You know, you're the young buck in the room. You're up and coming. You and your brothers have laid an amazing foundation, but what's your story? I mean, I know it, but tell the people out there, why are you here? What have you done? How have you triumphed and clawed your way to where you are now?
Yeah. So me and my two brothers, we started an e-commerce product-based business in 2016. And that was the start of our business ventures. And we were able to scale that up to 7 figures through Instagram marketing. And so what we would do is we film like cringy classroom skits, and we would product place the earbuds in the videos. And so these videos would get millions of views on Instagram, and they convert really well to paying customers. And so we were able to scale that business to 7 figures within just a couple of years. And, you know, we were naive, right? Like we were young entrepreneurs. We didn't know a lot about business. And so we got a little greedy and thought that we could market anything. And so we expanded out to other product lines like waterproof speakers, backpacks, and we built up like a massive inventory costs that pretty much sunk us and brought us to $300K in debt. And then...
How old were you at this time?
Well, it started, like the video started when I was going into grade 9. And then we progressed through high school. And so I was managing high school and then also the work. And I was also doing coding a bit on the side as well. So it's pretty much just like nonstop to bed at like 11, up at 5, and just like go. School would always come last on the list just because like I didn't care about it at all. And yeah, so that's a bit about like the e-commerce side. And then we transitioned into more branding because we saw like that's what we were best in. Like we were able to scale up this product-based business through Instagram, something that was very new. Like no one was really growing like we were on Instagram. So we dove in, started taking on clients just for like Instagram growth, scaled that up and started the agency, which where we were managing multiple clients. Then we got into the PR side of things and started getting our clients on publications like New York Times, USA Today, Forbes. And so we kind of established a full service offering where we not only were managing individual social medias, but we were also managing their PR. And these are high-level professionals that we were managing. So they were real estate investors, they were attorneys and firm owners and clinic owners. And then as we progressed and scaled up that side, we moved from our hometown in Winnipeg, Manitoba to Puerto Rico.
Nice.
And then after that, we realized that the industry that needed the most help was the aesthetics industry and clinic owners. And so we've tailored a lot of our offerings now to focus on serving clinic owners, physicians, specialists, practitioners, and helping them grow their brands.
So that's a crazy story. I mean, most people when they're in middle school and high school, I mean, Alex, I don't know what the hell we were doing.
Useless. That's what I was doing.
We were right.
Nothing useful.
Nothing. We were probably just nerding it out, trying to get good grades, and had this. We'll get to that whole healthcare.
Eating my Lunchables.
Exactly right. But nonetheless, you kind of took a different path and you and your brothers went into this whole entrepreneurship really early. Made $1 million, lost $1 million, and you grinded your way through. And I was in my 30s when I started making that kind of money, and you were half that age. So that is pretty freaking crazy. I know you mentioned over time that you started partnering with some A-list celebrities and doing these sort of things. Walk us through how you guys even came about that, who those people were, if you're allowed to talk about that. Just walk us through kind of that, what that means for people.
Yeah. So as we were expanding into the agency, we saw something happening on Instagram, and we were big in Instagram, right? We were heavy in the Instagram marketing space. And so people were running giveaways with celebrities. And so they partner with celebrities. Celebrity would give something away on Instagram, and then they'd tell their followers to follow everyone that, this company was following. And there was a few people in the space, but they weren't doing the model right, and they weren't building a brand around it. They were faking results. They weren't giving away prizes. So we were like, this is something that's like going to be really big. So let's just jump on this early. And we were able to partner with our first celebrity, which I think was like Bad Baby or something back in 2018. And it did amazing. Like organically, she sent I think 50,000 or 80,000 followers to our clients' accounts. And we were like, this is something that we can monopolize and build a brand around and build trust around in a area where a lot of people aren't trusting, right?
Yeah.
Because they weren't getting the results. And so that's what we did. And we started reaching out to more celebrities as we built credibility around the brand, which is high key clout. We were able to just continue to expand and scale that model up over the past few years.
I'm curious, when you meet these celebrities, because I've seen the photos, you've been in photos with Rick Ross and Da Baby and then the little baby and all the babies. and when you meet these people, I'm just curious, as a youngster, someone in your 20s, and you're meeting these people that, some people idolize them. I listen to their music sometimes. How does that feel? What does that look like for you when you and your brothers are able to do something so young and meet these sort of people and partner with them? How does that look like? Is it something that's normal for you? Is that something that you're like, whoa, this is pretty crazy? Are they normal people? What's that look like?
Yeah, for sure. I think when you're younger, you're also more impressionable. So I was 18 at the time meeting these people. And I always had high values for myself and high standards. I don't drink, I don't smoke. And so I was already not in their lifestyle, because a lot of them are partying, they're living the rapper lifestyle. Yeah. A lot of them are rappers, right? So that was kind of a separation point. But I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that their lifestyle isn't all that it seems chalked up to be, which is fame, wealth, girls. That's not everything. And a lot of them are they're neat individuals, they're unique individuals. And that's why they are who they are, because they've authentically shown that through their music and entertainment, the things that they've done. But in terms of them having it all figured out, they don't. No human does. Yeah. And so when people put them on a pedestal thinking that they're these ultimate humans that have achieved something that they would never achieve, it's just not true. They have the same problems that other humans.
I think what you're saying is very important, because entrepreneurs, specifically successful ones, they may be deemed or labeled as, hey, you've made it, right? But I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, and we'll get to you too, is like, I feel like you're always still working hard. You're still that simple person. And you're right. Like all of us are still learning. Obviously you guys have plenty of life ahead of you. But nonetheless, no, celebrity or not, we're always continuously learning. And when you're coming from a background of being in school for so long, Dr. Spinoso, Alex, why don't you walk us through a little bit of your history for the audience of, going through medicine, going through your crazy career. I've heard the story many times. I love it. And where you're at now. Just give us a good rundown of, what your evolution's been.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It's like, you always feel like you're behind no matter what. Even if you grow in entrepreneurship and you have all these businesses, you always feel like you're behind all your friends, because they say comparison's the thief of joy, but that's for people who lose.
Right.
Yeah. Winners always compare themselves to other winners.
Yes.
all the time.
Right.
But people always say, like, I had a great lesson actually from an entrepreneur early on. And the lesson was that the time that you give up now is not the time that you give up now. Going to school for us, doing things like that for us right now, that's not the time you give up. The time you give up is the time at the end of your life.
Right.
So the 8 years that I gave up going to school, 12 years that I gave up going to school, and I wouldn't change it, but for somebody else, 12 years that you give up now is the 12 years that you give up from your 50s to your 60s, or your 60s to your 70s, where you have the most amount of money and can do the most things with it.
Right.
That's what you give up, not this time ahead of,
that's so true.
ahead of you.
That's so true.
Yeah, I mean, with the education, like, it's hard for you guys to say, like, what could we have done differently in terms of like going to school, because there wasn't the level of access that you have now to the information that's out there.
That's true.
You can look
That's
up,
very true.
You can look up anything on YouTube now and get walkthroughs, get how-to videos.
Yeah, we sat in fucking public libraries.
Literal library searching through books, right?
Yeah.
And like in like history, it was like the Bible. Right.
Yeah.
So like now there's just like so much more access to information. And like, this is what I tell people in the aesthetics industry, like physicians and all these people with the education, you got to distribute it. Like, you got to share the information with your patients, with people, and then become a health resource. Like, the real issue that people have is just not understanding the benefits that can come from building a personal brand and posting on social media. And like you said, right, attracting talent is a huge one, right? There's a lot more though, like improving patient conversions, competitive advantage. Like, if someone comes to a clinic and their digital presence sucks and their physical presence is amazing, and then someone goes to another clinic and their digital presence is amazing and their physical presence sucks, they're going to go with the one that has a appealing digital presence. So I think just keeping that in mind and making sure that your social media channels are optimized, that the content that you're posting is aligned with who you're trying to target, who you're trying to help, and then scaling that up. And like, it's like when you're working in a business, the more reps that you put in, the better that you're going to get, and the less that the competition is even going to have a chance of withstanding. And like, so the bottom line of it with people in the aesthetics industry is they're just scared to jump into the world of social media. They're scared to jump into the world of branding and building their own personal brand, and they don't want to put themselves out there.
Yeah. So you answered exactly how I thought you were going to answer. So that wasn't like a negative thing. It was I ask questions like this all the time because the really good businesses, they grew exponentially through COVID.
Yep.
Like the really good ones, we grew 400% a year after, during COVID. And then afterwards, it's just skyrocketed.
COVID was great for
because,
our business.
The great fact of COVID was that all the people in the hospital got treated like crap. So they got tired of working. The clients, which we call them clients in our business, but the people who come and consume our services, the patients, if you will. We don't like using that word because it suggests sick people, but the patients we are the lowest amount of trusted service now. Well, physicians, doctors, the medical field is one of the lowest amount of trusted people now. We used to be at the very top. Now nobody trusts providers, which is awesome. Because if you're really good and you really educate and you're out there telling people, hey, this is the reality of this medication or this medication or this, they're going to come to you because they're like, hey, these guys get it. These guys know, that they're not that big pharma where okay, cool, I'm going to lose weight, but side effects are death and then bleeding out of my butthole. Like that sounds terrible.
They're actually trying to help.
Yeah, they're actually trying to help. So the really good businesses like yours, they grew through COVID, they grew after COVID, and now it's an untapped resource where it's just going to continue because, again, more patients don't want regular medicine anymore. They want to actually feel better. They want something that's going to make their lives more energetic. They're going to sleep better, look better, have better sex, etc. Then you've got providers and people who want to be part of businesses where like, hey, I could either work over here and get shit on all day long, or I could work for this really great company and grow and be a part of this better thing. I can do insurance medicine if you build your own business and fight consistently against insurance and reimbursement. And somebody actually, one of my colleagues, they said, hey, we want to start getting into cash-based weight loss because they got $3 reimbursed for their weight loss visit.
Wow.
$3 was their reimbursement.
That's a joke.
For a weight loss visit.
It's like, might as well send nothing.
Yeah. Why?
Right.
Why? Like, thanks for the $3 check back.
Right.
You spent more on postage.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. And I think that where technology is evolving, medicine's evolving. We see that because we are very well invested into brands like BTL that, of course, help rehabilitate different areas of the body, whether it's skin, muscle, fat loss, pelvic floor therapy, sexual wellness. You've actually had the opportunity of trying some of these treatments out. Yeah. I think just in Canada, not too long ago, like a few days ago, you tried the M-Face, you tried the M-Cella, you've tried the M-Scope Neo in the past. As a young individual, how do you see these technologies and the use of them impacting kind of the future generations? As a young individual, how do you see the benefits of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to like supplements, except on roids, right? Because like you have your supplements, but you still got to eat whole foods. You still got to eat healthy. But with these devices, it's almost like to some extent they can take over the muscle building process and like do the fat burning and visceral fat burning more effectively than certain workouts, right? Like I think that the M-Skull Neo, you can do like what is it, like 200,000 crunches? 20,000 crunches instead of going to the gym. And,
it's crazy.
And then not getting sore afterwards. It's like, that's a pretty sweet deal. So I think it's interesting from that standpoint. I mean, I've always been like a gym goer and like, dedicated to my fitness and health journey. So I think it's just more of an add-on. Like when you're in that mindset, then you're going to want to use as much as you can. Yeah. If you're not in that mindset, I think it'll help you like get into it by like seeing immediate results. So it'll help those people. And then, yeah, I mean, if you're a gym goer though, like you're going to want to use it for supplementation.
I think that you see that the GLP-1s and you have compounding pharmacies. So you see it even more intimately is that there's this battle, right? We have these amazing technologies coming on the horizon. We have these amazing medications that are on the market, but then we have this constant battle and pushback for like, hey, Big Pharma is going to sue you or you're going to be shut down. And I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit. We might get into a little bit of controversial territory here, but there's politics, right? I mean, we're talking politics here that the world doesn't want people to be healthy because healthy people are not good for business. I'm just going to say it, right? That's the world we live in, is that if we can give compounded medications on a mass scale, which we can do right now, Big Pharma is going to be pissed, because if Big Pharma can't prescribe these other medications for high blood pressure, for diabetes, for high cholesterol, for all these other things that weight issues cause, then they're going to be, their bottom line's shot. And that's not good for business for them. At least that's my perspective. I'm curious to know yours.
So you're absolutely right. Big Pharma in the US healthcare system, quite honestly, wants people to stay sick. They profit from it. They profit extremely from it. I mean, the data shows that 80% of a person's expenditure on healthcare happens within the last 2 weeks of their life.
Wow.
So the sicker you get,
It's sad.
it's sad. 80% of your healthcare expenditures usually happen in the last 2 weeks of your life. So the sicker you get, the more money they're going to profit. And at the same time, you're absolutely right. If you're dipping into these people's pockets, they're going to get really upset about it. Now, there are obvious clients and patients that can't take these medications, that can't do these doses, that, again, things like an M-Sculpt machine or things that BTL does, you're not going to be able to get from any of these guys. These guys are just meds, and that's it. And that's the mistake that people think, is that there has to be this battle between the two. When you put those two together, you're going to have a result in a patient that is well beyond just using one or just using the other. So combination therapies have always been a thing in medicine. And you know that too. If you just try and be a one-trick pony, then it's really not going to be the outcome you want. Marketing world, again, I don't know a lot, but if you just try and post Instagram reels all day long and nothing else, you're probably not going to drive a lot of business. You're not going to get your name out there. You have to do all these different things. Like you said, farming, doing hooks, making sure you're doing YouTube, making sure you have a really good website, making sure you have a really good marketing company driving clients. And it's all part of creating something that's perfect for the client. Getting the best results really is the goal. And you're right. They are focused on profits, not getting the results.
Yep. And I think that's the battle that patients face, but that's also a battle that we face, that we're building these practices, helping people building these practices, and they're trying to get away from that toxic world, and we're bringing them into the light, but that toxic world still is hovering behind them, saying, hey, listen, you went off and you're doing it on your own. Well, we're not going to let you. And that it's kind of frustrating, right? And it's very interesting to see, and I think I've met a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of physicians that want to come into the cash-based medicine world. And they're just scared. They're scared of the stuff that they're seeing. They're like, okay, well, am I going to be allowed to do this long term? Am I going to get in trouble? Is this going to be a high risk? I'll just stay up in the hospital and kind of, have my security. But then they have no life, right? And they have no exit strategy. And so there is a tough discussion there. And I think it's about taking risks, right? Yeah. I think that I always tell business owners, I tell physicians, you took a risk going into this career. You spent majority of your youth, sacrificed it for this outcome, and you're scared of risk. You already took the risks. You took big risks. Going through med school, all of that was a financial risk. And then they sit here and say, should I risk going into, practicing better medicine, which is the craziest thing. I mean, that's the risk they're taking, is practicing better medicine.
Right. Yeah. And because it's not a legal risk at all. The cure for that is literally, I tell any provider, any business owner, anyone, go on the Department of Justice, DOJ website, and read all the medical cases. That will cure you of your fear, 100%. Because the DOJ has a 99.9% conviction rate. Once you stand in front of them, once they raid your clinic, once they pull you in, 99.9% you are being convicted, because they always go off of two things. One, if you're defrauding or hurting people, and two, the intent to defraud or hurt people. And then they'll let you do it for half a decade. They'll let you do whatever you're doing for 5 to 6 years.
Wow.
Every time. And you read the cases today, 2024, the people that they bust this year have been doing whatever they've been doing since 2019.
That's insane.
That's why they have a 99.9% conviction rate. They'll let you bury yourself. And if you're a bad person, I totally agree. You should go to jail. You should lose your license. You should lose everything. Yeah. But 99% of people are not bad people. They just think from medical school, if I take this pen, I'm going straight to jail. There's no other option that I have. And so go read the DOJ website, and it's filled with people who defrauded Medicare for $50 million, had kickbacks. They knew that they were doing wrong, hurt patients. They knew they were doing wrong, and they did it year after year after year. One prescription that you missed, you're not going to jail. One machine, one GLP-1, even in large volumes, if your intent is to help people, and you are doing that to help people, you are never going to get in trouble. Yeah, you might get a letter at some point. Hey, you messed up on this or this, but the board is filled with people like us. Right. They're not filled with people who are a-holes like, I'm going to burn you to the ground. It's not like movies. It's like the guy on the other side from the board is like, he's wearing his Starsky and Hutch sunglasses and he wants to kill you. Like that's not real life.
Yeah.
There are people like us who just got bored and is like, I'm going to work for the medical board now for a little bit because it's a good cush job.
Right.
They're just like us. And so curing that fear is literally going on there and realizing that there is no risk. The risk is not doing it and you sit in your job 9 to 5 the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
You know, and again, you have in healthcare, there are so many jobs nowadays because people don't want to do it anymore.
Yep.
Like the worst case is you walk back into the hospital that you worked for and say, can I have a job? Boom. You will be hired on the spot.
There's plenty of jobs out there, right? The biggest risk is the one that you don't take.
Yep.
I mean, that's really straight up at what it is. If people are so focused on not taking risks, but it's like someone else's. So I see it even with people I'm really close to that they have fears of going in off on their own because what if they fail, right? Failure is the biggest allergy people have when you fail. But, you know, it was actually one of our good buddies down in Florida. You know, that's a client of yours. He taught me something really, really great. He said, Sam, because I told him I'm afraid to fail. He's like, Sam, there's no such thing as failure. They're moments of learning. And I'm like, that's brilliant, right? Like, there's no such thing as failure. There are moments of learning. And so physicians need to be get outside mindset of failure and realize you're just going to learn. And if you learn slowly and you make a mishap, it's okay. Learn from it and you keep going. Mm-hmm. Same thing in medicine, right? You misprescribe something, you misdiagnose something. It's not failure. It's a moment of learning. You're like, got it. Okay. I got to look out for that next time. And that's the biggest thing. And, you know, that's what I'm mentoring people when they come to me. And I think Alex's version is probably much different on a larger scale because he's going to practices that are already there. And so, you know, I think that I would love to hear your answer on kind of how you would give advice to a physician that is trying to go into, you know, the non-handcuffed medicine world, into the world that we live, and what advice you have for them.
Yeah. So number one, the first advice I would give, that's phenomenal. And I want to add to that as well. There's a great book called Relentless Solution Focus that I always talk about. And it's based off the fact that it was written by 2 physicians. And it's based off the fact that most of our time we think of all the things that can go wrong. Mm-hmm. What's the worst that can happen? And again, the studies show that 9 times out of 10, that never happens ever. And it's more than 9 times out of 10. It's like 99 times out of 100. Yeah. That one thing you think of never happens. It's just another thought that you have. So again, I always tell people, okay, what's the worst that can possibly happen when you try? Like if you want to leave the hospital and you want to build your own business, what is the worst possible thing that can happen? You fail. And then you walk back into the hospital and you get the same job that you had before.
Right.
And you save up some more money and you try it and do it again. It's the worst thing that can happen. Like you don't go to jail unless you go out and try and kill someone. Like try to kill someone is the point of this. The worst is not the worst. The worst is like, okay, cool. I'm right back where I am right now, making the same amount of money right now, living the same life right now. So that's the worst. That's the bottom of the barrel. Then on top of that, you know, clinics that I always talk to are making sure, exactly like you said, you're finding and messaging people like Sam. Hey, I'm stuck with this. I'm stuck with this. You know, and again, I don't want to bother you. What do you mean you don't want to bother me? And I get people that we acquire or partner with that are part of our group in Genesis now that say, oh, I didn't want to message you. I didn't want to bother you. What do you mean? That's my job. My whole job is to help fix your problems with you together. That's our whole job. That's our whole core value. That's all I do all day is fix problems. And I think Elon talks about how being a leader or a CEO is the worst job because all you do is solve people's problems all day long. But people like us, we're effed up. That's all we want to do all day long. Yep. Like, I don't want to hear about how awesome your day was. Cool. That's great. What, like, did you fuck up? What do we need to do better? What are the systems that we need to improve upon on a consistent basis? And having that conversation and realizing and telling them like, look, when it comes to the money thing, and we talked about successful businesses, there's only 9% of businesses in the United States that make more than $1 million gross.
That's crazy.
9% of businesses total. That means in the medical field, it's like 0.1% of businesses because you're taking that 9% is all business. So in our world, it's even less than that. And it's not that hard. People don't realize it, but it's really not that hard. You just got to find YouTube videos. There is no excuse now, and you know this because you're young, in your world now, there's no excuse for not making $1 million a year if you really want to. No excuse, because there are a ridiculous amount of videos on YouTube. There is, you probably know this. How many YouTube videos are uploaded like a day or even a month? It's billions, right? It's unbelievable the amount of content that are on these platforms now about anything, literally anything, like you said. And if you're not growing, you're dying. 100% true.
Yep.
Yeah. So going into like the heads of like the viewers, like probably one of the hardest things that, about what you just said is like the focus aspect. Like, where are we focusing our time and energy? That's going to bring the highest ROI. That's going to grow us the most. So like from your perspective, having over 80 locations now, going back to like the start, like where was that focus for you in growing those initial clinics? And then how did that change as you guys scaled?
In the beginning, it was, and it still is, realize that what we're doing, if you're a brick and mortar service, could be anything. You're in the people business. You are not in the medical field. You are not in the manufacturing world. Now, B2B, yes, but if you're a brick and mortar, you are a service-based company. You are taking medication from somebody else, Botox from somebody else, M-Sculpt machine from somebody else, and you're applying it to another person. You don't manufacture that at all. You are literally a middleman. So realize you're a middleman and treat anybody who comes in as like, this person is gold because they went online, they called my location, my clinic, and spent time to drive to me to get a service. So they already trust me. I just got to make sure that I deliver on that customer service. I got to make sure I do everything I can above and beyond so that they actually enjoy the service. I mean, that's the whole point. We are in the people business. We have to take care of our people first. And Ken Blanchard has he's an old author, business owner, written multiple short form books that are great for leaders. And he says that profit is the reward you get for making sure that your staff have an environment where they can take care of your clients. It's like, if you take care of your people first, you have great core values, you have great SOPs, you have great, protocols, all things that Sam and his company help businesses do and are freaking phenomenal at. You don't have to do it alone. Hire Sam, talk to Sam, ask him questions. They have it there. He's done it. He's exited. He's made it. And then he's made it again, like the second time already. Why not ask all the questions? Why not hire somebody like that? Like, hey, I want to sell your business. If you're not thinking of selling your business, then you're what's the point of building your business? That's the whole point, is like at some point leaving the business, because it was freedom in the first place. That's why we left the medical field, to have that freedom. Really. True. So always realizing that you're in the service business, you take care of your staff first, you take care of them really well, and then that will translate into taking care of your clients really well and scaling from there. So at the beginning, it's really what it was. Focusing on the core values, focusing on pouring into our staff as much as possible. And then as a result, our staff would inevitably pour into the people walking in the door, the clients every single day. And that's how we scaled that way.
And most people bypass that. Most people, their focus is straight to money. It's straight to, let me make as much money as possible because I'm used to making that $300,000, $400,000 salary in the hospital. I should be making that right now. And they skip all of that. Plus, they just don't know, right? And they forget that the culture is much different than it is in the hospital or insurance-based medicine. People are coming there and they don't really care for customer service. They care to just get healed and they get out, right? They're coming there. They're not wanting to be there. They're coming there with some medical condition, and you're there to treat them and get them out. Where in this world, they're paying cash. Sure as hell, they're going to be expecting a high level of customer experience and care. And if they don't get that, then they're going to go to your competitor. And that's where physicians have that gap that's missing. They're focused so much on building this brand, putting $1 million into a build out and focusing on the wrong things. And then they're realizing like, I'm not making any money. And then they blame everyone else. It's the front desk's fault. It's the manufacturer's fault. It's the device company's fault. Because they're the ones that supported them and supplied all the infrastructure, but somehow it's their fault, right? We hear this all the time. All the time. Everyone just wants to blame everyone else. But at the end of the day, it's the mindset that needs to be blamed, that lack of focus. And it's a lack of focus on the wrong things early stages. So exactly what he's saying is the focus that needs to be done is how do you figure out how to help other people if you haven't have your home figured out, right? Build your home. Your home is your practice, your business, the people in it. You got to have good core values and then you have them go do great work. I mean, it's just like raising pets or children. You got to instill a lot of love, a lot of values, a lot of traditions, and have them understand what the mission and the vision is. And when they understand the vision, it's very clear to them, they can execute that vision. But when they just go, when that business owner just hires recklessly and then just says, go sell, make me lots of money, there's no vision. There's no concept. There's no understanding of what to do. There's no processes. There's no work ethic. People are just on their hourly and they're like, I'm not motivated because they have nothing to be motivated for. There's no vision that was instilled. There was no culture that was built. And the physicians and the nurse practitioners and the medical providers and the owners of these clinics skip exactly what Alex said. And that's the issue. That's the failure. It's not because of marketing. It's not because of the fucking economy. Everyone's like, it's the economy. I'm like, no, dude, the economy's never been good. It's never actually been good for a very long time. It's had its ups and downs. It's been good some years, bad some years, but it hasn't been amazing in a very long time. It's not gonna be amazing in a very long time. Everyone wants to blame things like that. The economy, my team, hiring sucks, BTL, Sciton, Allergan, they're blame. Just blaming everyone else. But really the blame oftentimes, most times is actually the lack of focus. Exactly what you brought up.
It's so good. That accountability. So that's one of our core values is accountability.
Yep.
That if you have a staff member that messes up, or you have a process that messes up, or you're not making money with a machine, or your marketing isn't working, it's 100% your fault. It's your fault. Mm-hmm. And people don't like to hear that. Mm-hmm. It is your fault. If you blame external forces for anything in your life, then you are always going to be a victim and you're never going to build a massive company. You never will. Ever.
Everyone always tries to look for someone that's just as good as them, especially business owners, right? They're like, hey, they're not as good as me. No one's going to be as good as you. No one's going to be as good as you. If I'm able to see someone and they're at 75% me, I'm like, that's great, right? Like that's great. Or hire two people to match the level of you. Mm-hmm. No one's ever going to replicate your passion, your vision, your work ethic, your sacrifice because you're the business owner. So for us, business owners or physicians out there, nurse practitioners out there that are wondering like, oh, no one works as hard as me. Yeah, no one's gonna, man. No one's gonna work as hard as you. No one has to work as hard as you. You're the business owner. You're the one who has the passion. It's your child. You're gonna love it the most. And so you can't expect someone else to come into your home and love your children equally. Your business is your child. And that's the whole concept is business owners have to recruit and have to train under that pretext. They can't train and expect 100% as if it was them, the one doing the job. As he mentioned, you could be next to someone. That's amazing. 40 hours a week for 3 months and not know even nearly as much. That makes a lot of sense because there's no reason to. There's so many missing neurological conditions of emotion that are tied there that no one will ever be able to replicate. And to your point, like creating that university you've created, brilliant. Not enough companies do that. I wish companies had the infrastructure to do that. And think about every industry that we think of. I mean, restaurants, hospitality, even Boeing, right? People that make planes, flights, pilots. What do they all do? They're all consistent. Consistency is what builds greatness. You mentioned you were an athlete before. You're still an athlete. We're mental athletes. That's what business is. Business is a sport of mental athleticism. We are mental athletes. No one works harder mentally than we do in this room. That's just fact, right? Sports athletes, they're athletic in their bodies with their craft. But what are they also doing? I love college basketball. they're consistent. They go hit the 3-point line. They do 1,000 shots all week, consistency. And that's how they build greatness. And that's where people lack greatness, is they're not consistent with anything. They're not consistent with their training. They're not consistent with how they operate this procedure, that protocol. A patient comes in for one type of visit. If they see this nurse or this nurse, it's 2 different processes. So the patient is like, this place is inconsistent. Consistency is what builds greatness. It builds greatness in athletes. It builds greatness in entrepreneurs. The lack of consistency leads to failures. You'll miss shots. In our world, we miss opportunity. And a lack of training is the first line of inconsistency. And then a lack of operation, a lack of SOPs, a lack of the university's things that he does for his company, a lack of that is further enhancing inconsistency.
When you're consistent over and over and over and over and over again, you will win. You will win. There's no doubt that will happen.
Love it.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. And I think like similar to relationships, how there's like multiple levels of security, like financial security, emotional security, spiritual security on the business side. And when you're training a team, there's like multiple levels of training. And like one that you said was like personal development. And so like, that's one that like we take very seriously. And so you have the technical training that people might start implementing, but then there's not like the foundational like training on how to be a better human. Right.
Yeah,
so we've developed an intern boot camp, which is like a 4-week boot camp where we bring people in and develop them as a person. So as a leader, understanding business, understanding communication, understanding how to set up your day for success, how to prioritize all these things so that when they go through it, they're operating at a same level and mindset as people that are going through the more technical training. And so there's levels to the training that you can take people through. And if you really care about the people that work on your team, then developing them as a human and making sure that they understand that their personal development is the most important thing about the job that they're coming into, then they feel like, they're in a place that they can not only grow career-wise, but as a person.
Dude, I feel like I was a dumbass when I was his age.
Jesus Christ, man. This guy is fucking batting 1,000 right now, dude. The number one human need that anybody has is the need to be a part of something bigger than themselves, be a part of community. And you're killing it with that. So we do a lot of, we have different books that I have the staff read. I have different speakers come in that are motivational people, mindset people, and we help people with how to do your taxes, because it's amazing how many people don't know how to do that, how to do your taxes, or personal development, and a lot of leadership, because people don't get that. You don't get that from schooling. We didn't. I didn't know how to lead. We got that from sports and playing sports and things like that. But a lot of people in our field didn't grow up in sports or team sports or anything like that. So absolutely growth, that personal development. And again, they might go to another business, another marketing company. They might make more money with a different marketing company, but I guarantee that 95% of other marketing companies don't give a shit about them in their real lives. They don't care about developing them as a human. They don't care about pushing them. And we always say in Genesis, we have a family atmosphere, and that there's this hate around that now, that it's like, oh yeah, family means like you can do whatever you want. No, we're like, I'm an Italian family. Like if you fuck up, you're gonna get smacked in the back of the head. Hey, what are you doing here? You're better than that sort of thing. Right. Like, don't waste my time pouring into you. And at the same time, what I mean by that is they're not going to leave your company. You're going to have a much higher retention rate of staff. You're going to lower your cost to have to hire new people because they know that you care. And Gary's a great guy, phenomenal books. And one of his mnemonics that he always talks about is care with your staff. You just got to give a shit. And when you give a shit, people know. They understand that. It's whether it's your staff or your clients or anybody, they know whether you truly care about them. And if you truly care, you're going to be one out of maybe 5 people their entire lives that they can say, hey, this person actually cares about me. And they will run through walls for you.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the time that we spent. I'm looking forward to doing it again very soon. So thank you guys for being on here.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you for
guys.
having us.
Awesome.
Appreciate
And I'll go through my outro just so I could put it on mine.
Yeah, we'll do
so
intros too.
so where can they find you guys?
So Instagram would be the easiest way. I personally am always checking my phone. You know, it's something that is probably a blessing and a misfortune, because you're just glued to your phone answering messages. But it's not something that I do that I don't enjoy. So the.sam.patel is the easiest way on Instagram. Of course, YouTube, same handle. Just message on the comments, anything. I'm always willing to try to be in touch with individuals. No message goes ignored unless it's ridiculous. But no, direct message me. I'm happy to engage. How about?
Best place to find me is going to be on Instagram. So at Jackson Lintz, Lintz spelled Lintz. And, shoot me a DM, watch my content, and give me a follow.
A little bit of the Canadian accent. The first time, I went to school at Dartmouth, is in New England, and we went up to Toronto, and everybody kept spelling things with Z, and I was like, "What ZED? What are you talking about? Z? I don't know what do you mean? Like that's not the way to spell that. Like you're stupid."
It's so funny.
Yeah, Canadians. There you go. I caught that. Yeah. You guys can find me at dralexspinoso.com or Instagram. Dr. Alex Spinoso, same thing. I'm always on it. I'm always answering it. I'm not famous enough to have somebody else answering my DMs, so I'll be there helping you guys out personally.
Love it. Well, appreciate it. Thank you guys.